What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is Orioles Today, and as always, I am Sean Ferguson. I apologize for the background. This is not normally where I record. Hopefully, I will be back in my normal setting on the very next video, but this will do for now. If you're a fan of this episode, please throw a knuckle curve at the like button, and if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. We have a lot to get into, and I'm not going to waste any time, as I know you can see the headline for topic number 4 down to the bottom, and I'm sure you've all heard by now, and we definitely will get into it. To start with, here at the top, though, the Baltimore Orioles have announced they've signed Jeisson Cabrera to a minor league deal. Cabrera has spent his entire big league career, I should say his entire Major League Baseball career, with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's never made a big league debut. He was brought on by the Dodgers back in 2018, and that's who he has pitched for his entire career. He has not pitched higher than AA. He has potential. He's just 27 years old, but he is a guy that has struggled with control something fierce over his career. But statistically, last year was the best of his career. He pitched to a 3.71 ERA over 43 2/3 innings. He had a couple of saves and had a 4-1 record as well. But again, been with the Dodgers his entire career, but they decided to let him go, and the Orioles decided to pick him up. So the Orioles have a new addition to their minor league system, and we'll see what he is able to do, if he's able to pitch past AA and get into AAA Norfolk, as the Orioles can use all the help they can when it comes to that bullpen. And hopefully he's able to work on his control, as his velocity is getting better, but his control is something that he needs to work on. I watched a bunch of highlight videos of him once I heard the announcement of us signing him, and you can see in a lot of his videos it's something that he needs to work on the most. So congratulations and welcome to Cabrera on signing with the Orioles, and we'll see what the next chapter of his career is like with us. And yesterday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, the qualifying offer period came and gone. I know I talked about that quite a bit, and it wasn't a shock. Myself, including many others, were expecting most of the players, out of the 13 players that were offered qualifying offers, to decline. 9 out of the 13 decided to decline their offers and go into free agency, but 4 decided to accept and will make a little bit over $22 million playing for their teams that they decided to go back to in 2026. Trent Grisham, Gleyber Torres, those 2 guys decided to go back. The Orioles would not have gone after them, so that's not a big deal. But 2 guys did decide to go back. That is Shota Imanaga and Brandon Woodruff. They decided to accept their qualifying offers, and they both will make a little bit over $22 million apiece next season. And I was very bummed when I saw this, because I really wanted... I talked about both of those guys, that they would both be nice pieces for the Orioles. They would be cheaper additions as well, especially since there are bigger names out there. These teams that have all the money in the world, being the Dodgers and the Yankees, can go after them, while the Orioles can focus on these guys who will still make a big difference to their rotation. They can go out there and actually afford them, and they'd be a cheaper option than the likes of a Dylan Cease or even a Zach Gallen. But both of those guys have decided to go back to their teams. The only way you can get them now is through a trade. So out of the guys that are still there, like I just touched on, Dylan Cease and Zach Gallen are free to sign, along with sluggers like Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber. They declined. So the Orioles can go after those guys and sign them if they want, but they will just have to part with cash and a compensatory draft pick. And if you believe in Mike Elias, and what he said is they are not going to be afraid at all of guys with qualifying offers. They will be okay of parting with draft picks if it means getting one of these big names, and they were pretty much all big names that were on this qualifying offer list. So we will see what happens with that. Again, I am sad to see Imanaga and Woodruff not decide to elect free agency, as I really wanted the Orioles to be aggressive and going after them. We'll see what happens with these bigger names. I continue to see the rumor mills swirling, especially around Mike Elias and what he's saying about being players in these guys, and other MLB execs coming out and saying they're being serious when they're talking about spending money to get some of these guys. You can be as serious as you want, but you got to be able to outbid the Yankees and the Dodgers, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that. And another period came and gone. That was at 6 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, and that was the Rule 5 draft protection deadline. The Rule 5 draft is coming up on December 10th, and Rule 5 eligible players had to be added to your active 40-man roster. And by doing that, that means that they would not be able to be drafted by another team. And the Orioles decided to protect 2 players that were Rule 5 draft eligible, being Cameron Foster and Reed Trimble. And by adding them to the 40-man roster, they had to make room. So the Orioles have decided to designate for assignment outfielder Pedro Leon and infielder Luis Vasquez. So Leon and Vasquez have been designated for assignment, as Cameron Foster and Reed Trimble have now both been added to the Orioles' active 40-man roster. Foster is a right-hander that was acquired actually from the New York Mets in the Gregory Soto trade this past trade deadline. 26-year-old has been with the Mets since 2022. He was their 14th round draft pick back then, and in 13 appearances for AAA Norfolk, he had a 3.38 ERA, so not too bad, and something to keep an eye on, especially when he starts next year in AAA. We'll see if he gets that call up next season. And Trimble, the 25-year-old outfielder, can play all positions in the outfield, which is great when you consider how bad the injury bug was for the Orioles. But speaking of the injury bug, Trimble is a guy who has been injured quite a bit throughout his career. He played 90 games last year for through 4 different levels. He ended up in AAA Norfolk, where he hit .259 with 5 homers, 12 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases through 30 games with the Tide. So those 2 guys are now on the 40-man roster. We'll see them in AAA next year into spring training, and then we'll see if they're able to do anything in the big leagues next year. We'll see. It all depends on the different moves that the Orioles decide to make. And as I'm getting ready to get into that, before I do, the Orioles will not have anyone on their top 30 prospect list be eligible for the Rule 5 draft. No one in the top 30 is eligible, with Foster and Trimble going to the 40-man roster. But notable unprotected players are going to be Creed Williams, Judd Fabian, and the right-handers Cameron Weston and Alex Pham. They are eligible to be drafted in the Rule 5 draft by another team. And if either any of those players, and there are more, but those were the most notable of the unprotected players, if any of those guys are selected by another team in the Rule 5 draft, that team will have to keep them on their 40-man roster for the 2026 season or risk losing them back to the Orioles. And that goes for all teams that are in the Rule 5 draft this year, looking for players in the Rule 5 draft, I should say. And the big news, and as I am recording this video, this is still super fresh. I mean, just breaking not that long ago. And it breaks my heart because I've liked this guy since he was one of the best Orioles prospects, and I love when they brought him up to the big leagues. And it's just so sad to see it happen. But the Orioles have officially traded Grayson Rodriguez to the Angels. And it's sad. It's sad. And I'll get into a second what I think this move means, but it's a rough one as an Orioles fan, just because I know Rodriguez did not pitch at all in 2024, but I really saw him as someone, and we talked about it too on this channel, of can we move him into another role just because of how good his stuff is, and when he's healthy, how good he is. And could we put him in the bullpen? Because we put him as a closer just to start the season as he continues to ramp up and get going into the season, but eventually get back to being a starting pitcher because he's just so good. And when he first came into the big league, he struggled, but he got it together and he became so dominant when he was healthy. And he was someone that we said, yeah, this is our guy. He's going to be the ace of our franchise for a while. And then 2024 happened. The injury bug was bad to him. He did not pitch at all in 2024. But all the reports coming out were that he was going to be good to go for spring training. Now, those are the reports, and we don't know how truthful they were. But that's what everything was indicating, that he was going to be good to go for spring training. And there was hopes that he was going to be our guy. And he was going to be able to, at least to start the year, be in the middle of that rotation, but get that Orioles rotation back to where it needed to be, with Trevor Rogers hopefully continuing to pitch at the next level, at the way that he did last season for Baltimore. You get Kyle Bradish back healthy, and then you put Grayson Rodriguez in that mix. But now Grayson Rodriguez officially being traded to the Angels for Taylor Ward. And, the more that the days go on, we'll be able to dig into this trade a little bit deeper and see if anything else comes of it. If there was, draft picks, or not draft picks, prospects rather. But right now it's looking like it's straight up. And it's a tough trade for me. This is a year that Taylor Ward, it's his last year under contract. So is this another rental guy? And he did not have a great season last year in LA for the Angels. He hit in the 220s, and he's been in the league 8 years. He's going to be 32 to start of next season. And it's just a tough trade for me. I know they need more bats for sure, but they also need more starting pitching. And this is just a tough one for me. But what I think this trade means is that I do think the Orioles are going to be even more aggressive when it comes to getting starting pitching. If they were okay with parting with Grayson Rodriguez, who I know many, if not most O's fans love this guy. I know we were bummed out he missed 2024, but man, we really like Grayson Rodriguez. When he was healthy, he was dominant, and I felt like 2026 is going to be a better year for him. But he's gone now. So the Orioles have to be aggressive when it comes to this offseason. They are absolutely going to have to put their money where their mouth is and spend big and get some of these guys. And this move indicates it to me that that's exactly what they're going to do. Because Grayson was a guy you could easily put, if healthy, and getting it back together and getting his feet under him again, to be in the middle to the front end of that starting rotation. But he's gone now, and you have to go out there and you have to find another guy to put in there. You got Rogers, you got Bradish. Who else are you going to be in there? Who else are you going to be able to put in there that's going to be able to be as dominant, if not more so, than when Grayson was healthy? So, like I said, we're going to dig into this trade a little more as the days go on, but it is official right now that Grayson Rodriguez has shockingly been traded by the Baltimore Orioles over to the LA Angels for Taylor Ward. Again, I'm still continuing to dig into it. Like I said, this is, as I'm releasing this video or recording this video, this is still very, very fresh. So, again, Taylor Ward, he hit just 228 last year. It was 228, 317, 792 with a 2.9 F WAR, and it's tough. He's on his last season under contract, so we have him for 2026, and he's a free agent in 27. He's about to turn 32, and I don't know. I'm very shocked by this. Yes, we need more outfielders, but we're just talking about free agency. There's a lot of other guys out there too that I thought you'd be able to go after. So I'm a little dumbfounded by this trade. Please, guys, let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I was not expecting the Orioles to trade Rodriguez away, but with the trade, there's got to be bigger moves to come for the Orioles rotation. But again, please let me know what you guys think about this move down in the comments. And if you're a fan of this video, please throw a knuckle curve at the like button. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this latest episode. This was Orioles Today. I am Sean Ferguson, and let's go O's.